Okay, so this is version 2 of a resume that I'd like to review here. And let's just go through it and see where we can make some changes. So previously I had made some comments about how to conserve space in the education area, education section of the resume, and that was taken care of by moving the study abroad experience underneath Wesleyan. And so instead of having its own section, saving some lines here. Now let's go to move into the professional experience here. Brand strategy, summer experience, summer fellow. So I would say for these bullet points here, let's try to strengthen things a little bit better so that we can make them things a little bit more detailed. For example, consumer research, for what purpose? Cultural analysis, data strategy, for what purpose? For example, data strategy to improve the consumer satisfaction rates, for example. So I would say, and I would maybe just pick one that is most relevant to the work that you want to apply to or for. So for example, cultural analysis is not really clear what that means, so I probably wouldn't, unless you could make it more specific, I might not use that. Consumer research and data strategy sound good. I would say participate in strategy workshops to learn. I might say apply, right? Apply data strategy, apply data strategies to, and then whatever that result or outcome might be. So here I might say, so as opposed to saying originally it was this fairly long and correct, factually correct statement, participate in strategy in workshops. Okay, that's what you did. Now let's position ourselves a little bit differently to make it be more about what the employer might like to see. So since you're participating in strategy workshops, you're probably also applying some of these concepts. So, so I would say, I would start by saying applied data strategy and say consumer research principles to, and then develop model for increased consumer satisfaction. And that's one step better, but we might be able to even increase this and make it even better one turn further. We might say identified, depending on how you apply the data, right? The data strategy concepts applied, let's see, realized opportunities to increase customer satisfaction 15% by applying the data strategy to XY set of data, for example. That's going to be, even though truly you are sitting in a seminar or in a fellowship where you're just maybe just sitting in class and learning something, which is awesome, we can actually position it so that it seems more attractive to your future employer by making it closer to the work that you might actually do. So again, we're going to follow the results by action format here, right? And so the results are, could be, for example, because there's going to be some homework assignment that you did, right? So whatever you did in that problem relating to data strategy, identified potential 15% increase in consumer satisfaction. Okay, that's the result by, and then what it would be the thing that you did, and then by the action taken, which might be, for example, conforming, applying machine learning algorithm, which, you know, something, something. So however you would want to describe the actual, software, maybe you used some other kind of software, but, you know, name the software, right? So I would say, come in here, name the software or strategy used, right? To, you know, to conform the data or whatever you would say there, okay? So I would try to turn this around. Yes, truthfully, you sat in seminars and listened and things like that, but what did you actually do that was relevant to the job that you want, right? And you can identify that and pull that out. Learn to develop commercially driven, then let's move to the next bullet point. Learn to develop commercially driven, culturally attuned brand strategies from professional strategists. Okay, so I would also, that's true, that's what you did. And then I would also go into a results by action taken format here, okay? And because you did more than just learn, you probably also saw how it was applied. So you might the result might be, again, examined means to drive, right? To attune cultural messages with brands by, and then action taken, whatever that might have been. Or better yet, that might become the action taken. So the result might be predicted, and then try to get some sort of numbers, right? XX% increase in consumer engagement. I'm just making this up. So you have to, without further discussion, we would have to, you know, just start with this. Predicted XX increase in potential, right? Consumer engagement with maybe some product, ABC product, by, and then the action taken, which was action taken. And I'll put the action taken here. And then and then I'll put in parentheses and then quotations, examine, you can maybe find a better way to say this. Examining means to attune cultural messages with brands. Right? I'm not sure exactly what that would be, but there's got to be, if you really sit down and dig into what you did, you're probably going to find a way to phrase this in a way that would then have a story that you would support that. And they'd say, oh, really? Tell me more about this work that you did to predict consumer engagement. And then you explain, well, we were together in a workshop, and we did this exercise as part of my summer fellowship where we did this, this, and this. And then you have that story to tell, okay? So I'm just gonna format this a little bit more there. And then, good, gonna actually plug in my audio here. It's gonna be a better audio experience. All right. So that's how I would go ahead and change what that would look like, all right? So go back, take a look at how you can take these statements in red and turn them into something a little bit more specific, impactful, with a metric. And honestly, it could simply be the result of a case study analysis that you did. It could be just, you know, maybe you had a homework assignment, or you worked through an example in the class that demonstrated these concepts, and that would be fine. Because again, you're identifying yourself as a brand strategy summer fellow. Okay, so you're part of a fellowship. That's fine. Give me a bullet point which is results by action taken. Political intern. Okay, increased email open rates by 20% by analyzing data to improve the By analyzing data to improve the copywriting on sequence of 25 fundraising emails sent to 3,000 potential donors. Okay. By analyzing data to improve, yeah, increased, I would change this a little bit by analyzing by 20% by improving the copyrighting, just the copy on sequence of 25 fundraising emails sent to 3,000 potential donors, and then applied, and then data analysis techniques to quickly identify the winning or the most identify successful copy. That's fine. Just have that as a separate phrase. Okay. Apply data analysis techniques to quickly identify successful copy. Don't need a period because we're not using periods here. Improved organizational, next bullet point, improved organizational exposure and community engagement by developing and implementing strategies for outreach. Okay, so how would you measure the organizational exposure and community engagement? That's my question here. So increased community engagement by what percent? Increased community engagement by 15% as measured by the number of meetings held or the number of people attending events. You might take a look at that, or the number of Zoom calls held, the number of people impacted. Again, it's a nonprofit, so you're looking at that impact factor. Here, I would ask your team, ask your colleagues, your boss, what was that impact factor? How could you talk about the impact that you made? So improved, and then organizational exposure, it's probably the same as community engagement. So I would say improved exposure and community engagement. Not exactly the same term. Could you pick one perhaps? What if we were to talk about improving, depends what, again, what is the impact factor that your team is trying to measure here? Improved community engagement, let's just say 20% or whatever you might come up with by developing and implementing strategies for outreach. So developing, oh, okay. How about by developing and implementing newsletters, special events, and media pitches? Instead of using EG as an example, pitches. Improved community engagement 20% by developing and implementing a series of, of newsletters, special events, and media pitches targeted to, and you could explain it further if you wanted to, targeted to, and then a specific audience or not. And then you could talk about the way you did that. You have space here in this part of the resume. So you could add a statement to clarify this. Worked with, developed drafts of materials and presented to superiors for discussion. So you could add a statement like that. So I developed original designs and presented to manager for feedback. And here I would say there's a little bit of, there's an opportunity to engage about what impacts were being measured here. Find something that can be measured, whether it's community engagement or whether it's the exposure, the organization exposure. Try to find something that you can quantify, okay? I'm just picking 20% just for the sake of discussion. Course assistant, Wesleyan University, next section here, improve writing outcomes for 15 students by providing, and then providing them with, you don't really need that, providing one-on-one assistance on academic writing, enhance student learning experience by hosting 5 review sessions on government coursework, fine. Marketing campaigns intern, okay. Raised $33,000 to preserve the childhood home of prominent civil rights singer by building and launching crowdfunding campaign. Exceeded campaign goal by 132%. All right, so I'm just going to remove some text. Exceeded campaign goal. Okay, preserve. And then you have space here, prominent civil rights singer Nina Simone. That's interesting. Keep that in there. Next, I think that's fine. Next bullet point, strategize marketing of the campaign. Strategize campaign marketing. Researched, let's see, by researching target audience and helping running focus groups. Okay, so lots of bullet points here kind of around the same topic. Anything that we can improve here? Strategize marketing of the campaign. So developed campaign strategy. Developed campaign strategy. By researching target audience. And then I would just say by using focus groups. Using focus groups. And then you might actually bring this into the same bullet point. Implemented, so the same thing, implemented campaign improvements or enhanced, implemented changes. Instead of improvements, you could just say changes, implemented changes based on customer feedback. Okay. I don't know if we need to have perks mentioned twice. I'm sure that's very clear. And then maybe bring this increased resold perk resell perk resell strategy, perk bundling resell strategy. Increased funds raised by 3%. And then a little bit too much detail here about campaign's 5th week and stuff like that. Not that relevant. So I would just leave it like that. Develop campaign strategy by researching, and you could say helped develop, but you worked on developing. So develop campaign strategy by researching target audience using focus groups. You did other things, but you certainly used focus groups, sounds like. Implemented changes based on customer feedback, perk bundling, and resale strategy, how increased funds raised by 3%. Increased funds raised by 3%, and you're trying to say on stand-alone basis, meaning by itself, that raised 3%. Great. Research experience, research assistant at Wesleyan, supported academic publication examining China's economic model by compiling bibliography with 500 entries, okay. Analyzed China's economic policies, such as Belt and Road Initiative, presented findings at weekly meetings, okay. And then leadership, intern, TEDx, looking fine, produced TEDx event for 100 plus attendees, raised attendance by 30%. I would just say raise attendance 30% by launching first, get rid of the and campus-wide student speech competition. Business plan researcher, continuing down here, researched housing, transport, and schools to help resettle. And I would say results by action taken here. So let's put the result first. Helped resettle 3 North Korean refugee families. And you don't need to use in Connecticut by researching. You could say in the US, housing, transportation, and schools. In Connecticut, if you really want to have in Connecticut, you could have it there. There we are. Led cooperation with partner colleges to develop cross-college refugee resettlement projects, fine. Volunteer, and then awards, right. Okay, so we need to figure out where we can get a little bit of space back here. We got a little bit of back by consolidating, and we lost a little bit by adding this red text there. So what I would say is overall, great job. Let's look now to refining some of these sections. I'll try to highlight them where I can here, where I think some change could help you. Go through, take a look at my suggestions, and then come back to me with another draft. Good job. Keep going.